The queen is one of the most powerful pieces in chess, but sometimes if you can sacrifice it to gain an even more favorable position, it's worth it. And that's why I really love queen sacrifices, but it's something that it's going to take me a while to get good at. So with that in mind, let's study a case that I was looking at today, and let's learn from this. It's our move as black. On chess.com, you can see it tells you who's down or ahead in pieces. But if this were not chess.com, it'd be a good idea just to always practice seeing where you are piece-wise. So if you look at white, white has both rooks. It's got a queen. It's got one bishop and a knight. So it lost a knight and a bishop. Let's look at us black. We got our 2 rooks. We got our queen. We got 2 knights, so we're down 2 bishops. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even though it's our move, something I've learned from seeing people way more experienced than I is just to think about what your opponent can do if he or she had the move. What we see here is a complex web of different entanglements. That's a funny way to describe this. We've got a knight here, and the knight has 1, 2 attackers on it, but also the knight has defenders. We got a knight here, and it's got 2 attackers, but it's also got 2 defenders. Oh, actually 3 defenders. So this knight actually has 3 defenders. We got a bishop here. Look at that. Look at this. I'm discovering this feature. So the bishop here is defending this, attacking this, or threatening this, but of course this has a defender. Our queen here is attacking. In fact, it's good to kind of think about its entire line of sight. So it's actually threatening 2, and then it's defending this. And then it's also, look at this. This pawn is dangling. So the queen here could actually take the pawn. So let's look at the rook here. If the rook moves here, look at this. This is a direct potential attack on the king. In fact, the pawn is kind of undefended right now. So even though here, according to the computer, black's ahead, if black doesn't play this well, it can always turn around, become very bad position for black, especially since this rook right here potentially could move here. And then we'll have 2 rooks and a queen and a bishop threatening this side of us. Let's look at our attacks. We have this knight here, and here are the places that the knight is attacking, defending, threatening, etc. We got a queen here, and queens see their power, see what they can do. So the queen has protection, control, threats, etc. Very different areas. This knight here is crucial. It's really cool also, guys, to look at the pattern that the knight controls. It's very good to understand this. Our knight is threatening this knight. Of course, this knight is being protected by 2 pieces. We're threatening this pawn, but this is protecting that. And then we got some other moves here. Common thing I hear people say is checks, forcing moves, and captures. Look, first of all, whenever it's a move, to see if you have any checks, safe checks. And then look for forcing moves, aka things you can do to directly threaten and improve your position. It could involve a capture. Sometimes it's just a threat that leads to future better positions for you. And then captures. So anything that you can capture safely without losing a piece or exchanging badly. So we'll look at checks first. We definitely do have a check here, right? We got a check here. The issue with this check is there's a knight here guarding. So if we check like this, we're going to get taken. And then if we take with our knight, he's going to win out because he's going to take our knight here. So that is probably not a good check. We have a check here, take the knight here, but the issue is this pawn is guarding. We have a check here, but the issue is you're going to get taken by the pawn. So it seems like we're not in a good position right now to immediately checkmate the guy. Or are we? If you study game theory, one of the things you learn in sequential games is how to think backwards. It's called backwards induction. Now, chess is a very complicated sequential game with so many variations that you need a supercomputer to really think backwards. You're not going to be able to think of every single move, work backwards, but if you recognize certain patterns, you're going to be able to simplify certain positions and be able to work backwards based on patterns that have occurred hundreds of thousands of times that have yielded certain results. So let's go back to the board. And let's think about things that we can recognize from endgame study. This king cannot move here because this rook's guarding this entire file. So the king can only move here or here. It cannot escape to h3. The rook can move vertically and horizontally. So if we were able to get the rook to here without being captured, then it's going to force the king right here. So we can limit the king's mobility a lot if we're somehow able to get the rook here. So once we realize that, we can think backwards from that pattern and say, how do we get rid of this knight? Because the knight is the only thing preventing us from putting the rook all the way here and making it very uncomfortable for the white. So then let's work backwards a little bit more. We have a knight here threatening him, and we have a queen here threatening him. If we take the knight and we capture, look what happens here. The queen suddenly can capture this knight, and we have nothing protecting this knight. What's the problem with the queen capturing this knight? Look at what the queen can directly do. The queen can directly check our king, and now the temple's in white's direction, and we have to deal with this check immediately. So he basically gets a free move from this capture. So let's think about what happens if we take the queen and capture the knight. He cannot capture with the king. Why is that? Because we have our knight here. So because of that, he can either escape now, or he can capture with the pawn. His options are limited, so he's got to capture with the pawn. So he takes our queen, but look what happens now. That not only removes the knight from protecting this crucial square that we can put our rook in, it also blocks the king from escaping, which wouldn't have mattered anyways because we had a knight here. So, right there. He cannot escape here because our rook is guarding it. He cannot take our rook because our knight is guarding it. He cannot go here, and like we predicted when we looked backwards earlier, he has to go here. Now's the question. Where do you go? Because obviously you can check him with this knight. If you take the knight and you go here, you made a big blunder because the bishop is guarding this square. So you can only take the knight here. And that's checkmate. Because he cannot go here, the rook's guarding. He cannot go here, the rook's guarding. Unless he can capture his own rook, he's done. He got blocked on these two sides by his own pieces. And in fact, even if this weren't blocked, we have a knight here. So let's go back again. It was all because we were willing to sacrifice this queen. If we did this, watch what happens, right? That's a check. That's a check. That's really bad. So we have to deal with the check first. So whatever we do, probably the king has to go here. Now he gets a free move. Look at that. Now he gets a free move. So you had to sacrifice your queen. And that starts the final mate sequence. When we first want to learn the game, we rarely want to do sacrifices like this, right? Especially when we're ahead. As you play the game more, you realize that's part of life. A lot of things are expendable. In fact, you have to make sacrifices to gain a lot of times in life. So that's why I love chess. It so represents real life in so many ways. So a lot more to come. I'm going to continue learning, continue getting better. Thank you guys so much.